City, Auckland. And I come from this city here, which is called Palmerston North. Now Palmerston North is about the 7th biggest city in New Zealand, but it is only twice the size of Schwidnick. So for us it's big, but for you guys it's really tiny. So New Zealand is also a very new country. The first people, the Maori, the indigenous people, came to New Zealand about 700 years ago, and Europeans came to New Zealand 200 years ago. So a very new country. We have 3 official languages: English, Maori, the language of the indigenous people, and New Zealand's sign language. Do you guys know what sign language is? Yeah? Yes, so the language for deaf people, using your hands. So 3 official languages. So this is New Zealand. Now who here has seen The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit? Yeah? Quite a few people? They were all filmed in New Zealand. So all those mountains and rivers and stuff you see, they can all be found in New Zealand. So, New Zealand has lots and lots of beach and coastline. At most, someone would live 1.5 hours from the beach. So everyone visits the beach lots and, yeah, can swim in the ocean really easily. We also have lots of green forests, like this one. There's some lovely rivers in our country. We also have lots of mountains and volcanoes. And some of our volcanoes are active, so one day they could erupt. Hopefully not though. So, the reason why New Zealand has so many mountains and volcanoes is because we are on the edge of 2 tectonic plates. There's big plates under the earth that move, and they've pushed up the mountains. And that also means we have lots and lots of earthquakes. Now there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of earthquakes in New Zealand every year. Most of these earthquakes are really tiny. The ground will shake for a few seconds and then stop. But sometimes we have very big earthquakes, like this one. So this happened 3 years ago in a city called Christchurch. It was about 7.5 out of 10 on the Richter scale, and as you can see it caused a lot of damage. Over 100 people died in this earthquake, and you can see many buildings fell down and collapsed. There were big cracks in the road, water bubbled up from under the ground and flooded many houses. And after a big earthquake like this, there are always lots of smaller earthquakes called aftershocks. And these aftershocks went on for years and years. In fact, there are still many earthquakes in Christchurch today. Okay, so the indigenous people of New Zealand are the Maori. We've got some pictures here. So they are Polynesian, so from places like Samoa and Hawaii. Traditional costumes include flax or grass skirts with woven tops and belts. You can see many of them are wearing necklaces, much like this one, around their necks. These are carved from bone or from jade. My one is from jade, and there are many different shapes. Mine is in the shape of a fish hook, and the meaning of the fish hook is safe travel over water, which is why my family thought it would be an appropriate gift. You can see, go to New Zealand. Here we have the kakapo. The kakapo is another type of parrot. He is the world's only nocturnal, only night parrot, and he is also the heaviest parrot in the world. They cannot fly, but sometimes they will jump out of a tree and vaguely flutter/crash into the ground. This here is the pukeko. The pukeko is about the size of a chicken, except it has very long legs because it lives in the swamp and its feathers are blue. We also have some penguins in New Zealand. This guy is called the hoiho, or the yellow-eyed penguin, because he has a stripe of yellow over his eyes. And in New Zealand, our penguins like to live on the beach. Now, does anyone know what New Zealand's most famous bird is? Kiwi? Yeah, the kiwi. So, the kiwi is the national bird of New Zealand. In fact, a nickname for New Zealanders, for people from New Zealand, are Kiwis. So I could say I'm a Kiwi. Kiwis are an honorary mammal. They have more in common with mammals like people, or cats and dogs, than they do with other birds. They are one of the most unusual birds in the world. The kiwi is about the same size as a chicken, except he's very round and fat, and his wings are only this big. So he cannot fly at all. He has no tail, but he has very strong legs. They also have a very long beak, and they are the only bird in the world to have their nostrils at the end of their beak rather than at the top. And they use their beak to sniff for worms in the ground. And they also use their legs and their beak to rip apart logs to find beetles that might be hiding there. So the kiwi is nocturnal. It only comes out at night. And the kiwi also has one of the largest egg-to-bird ratios in the world. So the kiwi is about the size of a chicken, and a chicken egg is yay big. A kiwi egg is like that. So a really big egg for a really small bird. Most kiwi have brown feathers, but occasionally a very special kiwi is born that has white feathers. And these white kiwi are not albino, they just have white feathers. And I was lucky enough to see one of these white kiwi in captivity. Okay, this is the tuatara. The tuatara is a type of reptile. The tuatara lived with the dinosaurs over 225 million years ago, so it is a very old species. The word tuatara means spiny back in Māori because they have lots of spines all along their back. The tuatara can live for over 100 years and grow up to 80 centimetres long. In winter, the tuatara will sit on the ground and not move. It looks like they're dead or like they're a toy or a statue. And when they're doing this, they will only take one breath each hour. The tuatara will eat insects, lizards, and sometimes even small birds. And the tuatara is born with 3 eyes. It has 1, 2, 3. I'm telling the truth, I promise. So this third eye is very basic. It can only tell the difference between light and dark. And by the time the tuatara is about 4 months old, skin will grow and cover. Okay, do you guys have any questions for me? Questions about New Zealand or about me? Yes.
So I was thinking to go into New Zealand, but I know that it's easy to go to England for us, but it's harder to New Zealand.
Yeah, it's a bit harder. It's probably a bit more expensive too. It took me 4 different aeroplanes and about 38 hours, I know, to fly from New Zealand to Poland. So it's a long time. So if you do go for like quite a while and visit Australia or something as well while you're at it. The South Island is much prettier than the North Island. If you only get to choose one, I would recommend the South Island. Yeah. What else? Yep.
What is the weather like now in New Zealand?
The weather right now, it is spring. So it's nice and warm. We've got trees blossoming and flowers coming out. The lambs are being born right now. It's a nice weather, yeah. In winter, it depends on where you are, but in my city, positive 7 or 8 is cold. That's winter for us.
What have you been doing when was the most terrified earthquake 2 years ago?
Yeah, so I did not feel that earthquake. So it was in Christchurch, which is kind of in the middle of the South Island. But I remember I was visiting one of my friends and someone sent her a text saying there's been a huge earthquake in Christchurch, and a few months ago there had been another big earthquake, but no one had been killed, there wasn't much damage because it was in the middle of the night, and this was in the middle of the day. And I just remember we turned on the radio and we just sat on her kitchen floor listening to the radio, just getting news updates. So it was really devastating earthquake for New Zealand, yeah. And it was a few days before the earthquake in Japan, which caused the tsunami. So I'm not sure whether the earthquakes were related or caused each other, but yeah. Anything else? Yep.
What interesting places would you recommend to visit in New Zealand?
What interesting places? Okay, so in New Zealand, if you go there, you have to be quite interested in like nature and natural things because you don't have much else. I would recommend going to one of the wildlife parks we have, so you can see some kiwi and some tuatara. There are also lots of nice mountains, and you can visit some volcanoes. We have a city called Rotorua. And Rotorua has natural thermal hot springs, and it has hot mud pools as well and geysers, so that can be really cool, but it does smell of rotten eggs, so up to you. Yeah, South Island, you can go whale watching, you can see the Royal Albatross. We have one castle in the South Island. It's like a really modern castle, so for you guys it would be really boring. The steepest street in New Zealand can be found in South Island, and I believe it's one of the steepest streets in the world. Yeah, some tramping, some hiking in our forests and our mountains.